Welcome to the Don of All Trades podcast. I'm your host, Donovan, and today I have with me some special guests.
Just D.
Shelly.
Jay.
All right, and with that being said, this is the only podcast that matters. This is episode number 1 of the prepping series. Yes, I said prepping. Yeah, some of us do prep. So be sure to lock and load, share this with a friend, and let's get into it. All right, so once again, welcome you guys, and so let's talk about this thing called prepping. I basically wanted to put out there that I noticed a lot of people of color don't necessarily prep for harder times based on the things that have happened in the past, natural disasters, loss of job, like there can be anything. And there are so many aspects of prepping. So let's start out basically with one of the easiest, let's say food. So we basically depend on the grocery stores to get food to us. And most grocery stores, as you know already, say for instance when the hurricane hit Houston, how many days of food? Maybe 3 days worth of food, and they have to wait on more trucks.
Right.
And that's an issue because then you run into the store trying to get more food. Why not prep to have more canned goods, more water in your house as an insurance?
So as somebody starting out, for more lay people listening to the podcast, what would you say would be a good starting point? Like if I'm saying now, let's say somebody on tight budget, like where would they start?
Okay, well, considering a tight budget, I would say, figure out most canned goods only cost maybe, 60, 80 cents, depending on what brand you're buying.
True.
And that canned good can actually be the cross between life or death. If you're starving or if you needed to trade something in a bad situation, that canned good could actually take you, that's another day of life, based on the calories.
Right.
Say, for instance, if it was raviolis, even though that's not something that you would normally probably eat,
Right.
that ravioli will sustain you and give you the strength to continue on to, find more food possibly.
Right.
Should we start with talking about what we need to prep with, or should we start about what are we prepping for, just so we can give our listeners some context?
Well, I did basically say it could be pretty much anything as far as a natural disaster based on like a hurricane.
Hurricane?
Whether it be a hurricane, whether it be earthquake.
Well, right. And I guess prepping in general, there's a base layer of prepping in general for everything, but there's also some specific things that can happen where it needs more specific preparation.
So we're
like
starting, say, with now, at this moment, we're talking
Natural
about
disasters.
food
Just
and
natural
natural disasters.
Okay.
So basically
I just
talking
wanted to
about
make
the
sure.
stores not being able to sustain the amount of people that rush in and, that they can't basically maintain society and provide us with the nourishment that we need. So you got to stop depending on them and depend on yourself.
Well, that's really important, I think, especially in this day and age when there is a lot of emphasis on farm to table
Right.
foods, right? We want it fresh. The fresher, the better. Of course, the fresher, the less sustainable.
Right.
So most people probably won't have more than a few days worth of canned goods on hand in
True.
the
Right.
event of a natural disaster. So this is really, really relevant because Whole Foods is great in good days, but when the storm season comes or God forbid there be the zombie apocalypse,
Right.
then we need something that's going to last for a couple days.
Right.
True.
More than a couple, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And you figure, just look at it like this. We spend $20 on fast food, and you'll blow that at Whataburger, for instance, or wherever you're from, whether it be,
White Castle. In-N-Out Burger.
anybody.
All that.
Yeah,
Let's
you will
cover
blow.
the gamut.
Yeah, you will blow that in one night. You can take $20 a week and buy enough canned goods to store to last you at least But I say you should have at least 3 months worth of food in your house. At least, just to sustain you. And then basically, say with the canned goods, those canned goods, as long as they're not exposed to sun, for the most part, you can actually rotate those out maybe like every 6 months.
Yeah.
Take the older part, canned goods, put them to the front, and then rotate them out and put the new stuff in the back and just kind of replenish as you go. But as long as you sustain that 3 months worth of food.
You totally answered the question I had, which is going to be like, what was the shelf life? Or like when you said so basically with canned goods you should think to rotate every 6 months.
Yeah, or a year. I mean, they last. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I've eaten fish out of a can of mackerel.
Yeah.
You could take that mackerel or even some tuna, and that'll be a year later. And you can still sustain with that, and it's not spoiled.
Gotcha.
As long as it wasn't sitting outside in the sun.
Right.
Even sardines. Think about how long sardines last.
Right.
But just taking that $20 and saying, hey, this is like putting a deposit in the bank. And just doing, looking at it that way. Think about people that have kids. Think about how much your children eat. And
don't want to think about
I'm saying, but then think about it. You have to run to the store twice, maybe twice a week. They gobble up stuff. So how do you tell that child, look, son, things are bad right now. The grocery stores are closed. Here's a canned good. This is all we got. They used to eat Pop-Tarts and all this other crap. So in boxes of cereal. How you gonna have cereal? You buy cereal and stash it away, but how long does that last?
Right.
So canned goods, and we're gonna get into also like the freeze dried foods, which sustain the test of time. Basically, you're looking at 25 years, 30 years.
Okay.
That those things last. But to start out on a budget, definitely start out with canned goods.
Okay.
And according to the USDA, just give you some context around it, citrus fruits in a can will last about 1.5 years, and then anything else, vegetables, meat, fish, lasts up to 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good to know.
And that's true insurance. Like most people say, oh, I'll get insurance for this. You'll buy car insurance, but you may never use that. So what's more important than your life?
Right.
And saying, hey, I got a storage of food and water. Knowing how to purify water, and that's a whole nother subject in itself. But even taking, say, like the gallon of Ozarka, and you could take that, store it in your closet, and just say you have one closet or one room dedicated to water, canned goods, and freeze-dried foods.
It's life insurance.
Yeah, and that's just your life insurance alone. And when everybody else going crazy and looking for food, running back to the grocery store, think about all the people you saw waiting in line, waiting to get food and eggs and meat and whatever.
You can't get
you can't
to the store because the streets are inundated with water.
Then you got to fight. I mean, it's almost like a Black Friday sale. People in there fighting over bread.
It's worse because we're fighting for survival.
Exactly. So why go through all that when you can take the time out now, take $10, $20 a week, and put aside for some food that you like, that's still available at this current time. When things go bad, you're not going to have a choice.
Yeah.
You might have to go out there and scrape up a grass sandwich or dirt cakes like you ate when you was a kid, but you're not going to have much of a choice when that time comes. So
question. Is there like a formula for, say, average person, you should stock this much for a day or anything like that?
Okay, on average, think about how much you eat right now. You want to sustain maybe, some people say 1,500 calories. I say 3,000. Most of us on a $3,000 calorie, I ain't gonna say diet, but rations per person. So you're looking at about 750 pounds worth of food, 800 pounds of food per person per year. Think about it like that. That's a lot of food.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But for you to live comfortably,
a gallon a day of water.
Yeah. So what's worse than you not having that if society collapsed? And we're not going to say about the zombies because I ain't worried about no zombies eating my food.
I was only being facetious.
Yeah, I'm worried about it. I'm worried about these clowns that don't have food or the ones that didn't prepare.
Right.
Even worse, family members that don't believe in the concept of preparation. Think about all the Great Depression and all of it. And, it didn't. The Depression didn't have no prejudice. It affected blacks, whites, especially blacks, but whites and whoever else. You know, it didn't matter. Everybody suffered except the wealthy. None of us sitting here are just wealthy and swimming in money. So with that being said, why is it not so smart? I mean, smart. It should be smart for you to just prepare for your family if you truly love them, and prepare for them well to where they can sustain. Because ain't nothing worse than looking at your child, you know, folded up in the corner, starving, and you can't do nothing about it. Or even worse, which it brings on another topic, you have to have a way to protect that food. Because if you think they won't snatch a TV out your hand at a Black Friday sale, what you think they're going to do to you for a loaf of bread and some Spam?
But that's all that's left.
Exactly.
I do want to mention that since you mentioned the Great Depression, they were much more prepared for that type of time because as far as like the electronic revolution hadn't happened, all the computers and everything that we do, the just-in-time delivery for the grocery stores. So these people were actually providing for themselves. They were already self-sustainable. A lot of them lived on the countryside. There wasn't so many people in the city. So the impact would be less then than if it happened now.
Oh, definitely.
It would be just catastrophic
because
now.
most people focus on fast food.
Right.
Like my nephews, that's all they talk about. They want some P.F. Chang and they want
oh my gosh, Panda Express.
Panda Express, and you know, that's all they talk about. They used to everything come out of a box or in a wrapper. They don't know. I mean, when people cook for them, that's cool, but they know nothing about having to wait. They want it right then and there. And
instant gratification.
Yeah, and that's the gratification, which is a whole other topic. But
people can't grow grass, much less food.
Yeah, and what's the style? And most people now, they refuse to learn to grow food. They refuse to store because they don't believe in that. Like, okay, I shop week to week. Then next time, I mean, who's to say that grocery store is going to be there?
That's another thing that commercialism has created as well, is the fact that you don't have to store all this. You don't have to store food. You can just have it instant gratification to keep you from actually, storing things. And, like when things go on sale, not buying a ton of it because they want to get your dollar on a consistent basis.
Absolutely.
Right. So now let's see. Does this go away from the budget minded? Let's say for those who have a decent job and can prepare and buy sustainable foods, which would be, let's say, me, for instance, I would go get 5-gallon buckets from Walmart, which are like $2 or so. Buy a lid for it as well. You can go back there and I guess the paint section. Most of those are food grade or whatever. And fill it with the large canister of oatmeal. All your dry goods, grits, rice, beans, all those things that you can kind of dry or put in a Mylar bag and seal up the bag. And that will last you. I mean, put you some with those silica packets in there, and that stuff will last you as long as you keep it dry, out of the sun. You're looking at least a good 10, 15 years or better. And why wouldn't you do that for your family? And most people just don't. They don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for the budget minded, I think also there is the feeling that why should I spend this money now? Would it be more economical to invest it in other ways to prepare, as opposed to the very base level investment in food? And I think maybe it's a mind shift because we always think how readily accessible food is to us, right? We can just go down the street to the grocery store, or we can just go online and order up a bag of groceries delivered to our house, or Uber Eats, or food is so easy to get to that I'm thinking as myself, right? Mm-hmm. Thinking, oh my God, $20 a week, that's not a lot of money.
Right.
You can invest $20 in a week, but if I put that $20 a week in the bank and I save, that emergency may never come, but I have money.
Well, guess what? If the system fails, what happens to your money?
Well, you mean in the bank?
Yeah.
What happened to Greece?
Yes.
Because what happened to Greece? Look at what happened to Venezuela. Right now, our economy is not that great. Look
Right
at the
now,
stock
we're
markets.
in a state of emergency.
Exactly. So with that being said,
In a partial
there's
government shutdown.
all they have to basically do is say, "Oh, the state of the